In this video I want to show how to set up the extrinsic calibration on the O3D sensor. Extrinsic calibration defines the reference point or the origin point of the point cloud in the O3D. That means whenever the point cloud is transferred to our computing device via Ethernet, our point cloud already has its coordinates referred to the origin that we specify with the extrinsic calibration. The extrinsic calibration consists of 6 elements: 3 translational, X, Y, Z, and 3 rotational. The extrinsic calibration can be set up using the XML RPC interface on the O3D. And this is a XML interface, so we can send messages, commands, and set up parameters. The O3D also has a web server running, as we can see on the left. This is the main page of the web server on the O3D. And as you can see, there are parameters that we can directly manually type in, and this way we can parameterize the O3D. First of all, we need to open the web server in our browser. Here we specify the IP address of the sensor. We add the subdomain api/rpc/v1/com.ifm.efactor/. Don't forget the trailing slash, this is very important. What we want to achieve now is, when you have a look at the right hand side, this is a current scene on the O3D, 3D point cloud. We're looking at a wall, in the corner of the wall, with some 2 poles in the scene. Now let's configure the rotation along the y-axis in 90 degrees. Now first of all, in order to change parameters on the O3D, we need to request a session, and we will get a session ID for our setup. The request session command has 2 parameters. In this case, we use 2 blank strings. The first string is a session number that we already got and want to reuse. We don't want to do that here. We want to open a new session. And the second parameter is a password, and we have password protection enabled on the sensor. In both cases, we have a blank or empty string here. As you can see, we got a session ID, a very long string. We can now click on the node that opened up, and we will need to do something very specific here. First of all, we need to send a heartbeat. The O3D always expects a heartbeat from the connected device. This is something that he makes sure, or the connection or the session is still valid, and he keeps it living. So the heartbeat interval is very short, so in order to change parameters manually, we need to set a longer value so we can really do manual settings. So we now send a heartbeat, and we specify an interval of 300 seconds. That means we have 300 seconds time to do manual adjustments in the parameters of the O3D, which should be fine. As we can see, the result is a 1, no error. That means everything's good. The next step that we need to do is to set the operating mode of the O3D to edit. For this, type in or just copy and paste the set operating mode command, and as parameters we want to use 1. Always put the parameters in parentheses because it is always a string. As you can see, after setting the operating mode to 1 or edit, new nodes open. So we open the edit node and continue to the device node. Here on the device node, we call the get all parameters command just to have an overview of all parameters in this node. As a result, we get all parameters, and when we look for extrinsic, we can see there are 6 parameters: extrinsic calib trans Y, trans X, trans Z, and also extrinsic calib rod X, Y, and Z. All values here are now set to 0. That means the extrinsic calibration is not set yet. So now let's try to set the extrinsic calib rod Y to a value of 90 degrees. Therefore we use the set parameter command, and as parameters we use first the parameter name, extrinsic calibration y, and as second parameter we type in 90 degrees, always in parentheses. Do not wonder about the noise in the background. I'm right now in Indonesia and it's Muslim prayer time, so it may be a little bit noisy, a little bit in the background. Let's do a quick check. We call get all parameters again, and as we see, yes, the extrinsic calib rod y parameter is now set to 90 degrees. We're successful. We need to save this parameter first. Therefore we use the save command, and afterwards we go back 2 nodes, or we can just eliminate the last 2 nodes from the URL in the browser. And we set the operating mode again to 0, which means not ended. And as you see at the right hand side, immediately our point cloud data is rotated. For reference, I copied the previous state to Paint, a screenshot, and copied to Paint. On the left hand side you see our previous setup, and now we have a rotation of 90 degrees set up for the y-axis. That means in this case our point cloud data will always be rotated 90 degrees around the y-axis. Of course, it is obvious we can now set all 6 degrees of freedom of this calibration according to your coordinate system that you desire.